Sunday. It is 10/10/21. It is 9:50 a.m. in the morning. And so this Sunday, I would like to talk about why we see what we see on the astral plane and beyond. So far, when we've spoken about what the astral plane looks like, we've mostly talked about what it may look like in our apartment or our house, or how the outside world appears. You know, if you're flying through the clouds, or, seeing different landscapes. But today, I wanted to talk about some things I've experienced and seen that go far beyond explanation, and why it may be that I see or experience or perceive these things. These are theories, of course, which means that there may be other explanations that I haven't thought about. But the purpose of all this is to get you, those that are listening, those of you who are, astral projecting, going out there for the first time and seeing these things, get you into analyzing your own experiences, especially the ones that don't seem to make sense. And I have seen these particular kinds of experiences on subreddit at times for people that have begun to explore the astral plane. By the way, I wanted to first thank Sophie for inspiring this episode. She asked me a question about one of my episodes. I believe it was the animated, the one where I was in the animated studio recently, and like literally it turned on a light bulb in my head. So again, thanks, Sophie. Let's begin with the human mind, a magnificent tool that we've been blessed with that constantly makes sense of the world around us. On any given day, from the time we wake up until we lie back down again to sleep, the human mind takes in and makes sense of all the madness around us. It's a tool that was ultimately built to perceive and make sense of the 3D world. And I believe that it has difficulties making sense of the astral plane and what may be beyond it. This might actually be why certain things are perceived in the way that they are perceived out there. Certain really strange things, and I've talked about strange things before in my videos. I've usually prefaced it by saying, guys, you're going to think this is really strange. But I'm going to tell you anyway, because this is what I saw. So let's take my last experience as an example. By the way, if you haven't listened to it, all I can tell you is it was astonishing. It was a journey that I have been wishing for a very long time, and I think my guides have delayed it for so long because I think that they were in this way of they will sometimes, if they feel, I think, that an experience is going to be beyond what I believe it to be or what my expectations are, if they think it's really going to be pretty crazy, they will delay it, or I will feel them kind of saying, hey, are you sure you want to experience this? So that's why. But I believe that I may have traveled to the edge of the galaxy. And honestly, after speaking with my mother about this, perhaps even beyond that, beyond the edge of the galaxy without even realizing it. Again, going back to my guides, they do have a tendency of taking my requests far beyond what I ask. And the reasoning might just be that, well, and I've always thought this, they have an interesting sense of humor, and I think that they love to see my reactions to things. So yeah, that's it. And I do believe that guides have a sense of humor in some way. So first, going into this experience, I was in darkness and felt debris passing through my fingers. Then suddenly, after a few moments of feeling this, I was in a free fall with what I perceived to be human skeletons holding my hands. Now, my theory: the mind was unable to make sense of what I was actually seeing at that moment because it was simply beyond its comprehension. So it searched its library of memories and came up with a human skeleton. But again, the question, why a skeleton? I want to make note of this. These skeletons, by the way, they were perfectly shaped skeletons, pristine. So what does a human skeleton represent in our minds? One theory could be death and decay, but of course, these skeletons weren't decaying. The skeleton also acts as a foundation for our skin and organs. They're infrastructure, if you will. So what if what I was seeing and connecting with was the foundation of our galaxy and what actually holds it together? Again, just a theory, but this is the way I work out the things that I see that seem to be unexplainable. The last thing I'd like to talk about is seeing things that appear to be animated. Now, I've talked about this before in previous episodes. I've talked about things looking animated, and I wanted to talk about some of my theories in regards to this. I had an experience early on where I was traveling through the beyond body in darkness, and I wished to see my surroundings as I traveled. What was revealed to me was a path with trees and grass that appeared to be fully animated. Is it possible that what I was actually seeing was the infrastructure of what we know as reality, and this was the way that my mind was interpreting it? Again, simply a theory. And it's interesting, I wanted to also recount another experience I had where I had landed in this place very dramatically. It was kind of a restaurant, and it was outside. Kind of reminded me of the kind of place you might have in a high school or something, right outside of a place you would order, where you would order food, and then there would be, tables with these umbrellas above them, and people would be sitting there. Except all the people that were in this place were all older people. I didn't see anyone that was younger. I'm talking like 70s and above. And one of my, at first I just thought they were older people. Later on down the line, when I discussed this with my mom and I really thought about it, it may have represented in my mind these beings that were ancient, that were perhaps timeless. And perhaps their form, the way they looked, was so beyond my comprehension that the only thing that my mind could come up with was older people. So that was the actual translation. And I remember seeing this man who was sitting, and he, while his head, he had a normal head, of course, and normal face and everything, but I could see a part of his head was animated and it seemed to be phasing in and out. I was wondering as I was witnessing this, why does it look this way? What am I actually seeing? Why does this person look half animated and half like flesh, or what it seemed to be that this being had a body, which I imagine the being didn't have a body that I could necessarily understand. But perhaps I was seeing this being as they were materializing into this place, and I was seeing something that was a part of that materialization. I'm not sure. But I believe that seeing these things animated is, I guess, in a way, seeing beyond the veil. So the next time you experience something truly strange out there, think about the mind and why it may have chosen that particular translation. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. And until next time, take care.